important concepts in phonetics. These are things to keep in mind as you do phonetics. Here, we're going to talk about certain important ideas that I want you to retain so you could do well in this class. The most important thing is that we're talking about sounds, not letters. You don't pronounce letters. Letters are the graphic representation of a sound. In linguistics, we talk about sounds using their descriptors, and we'll get to that in a bit. Why am I insisting on that? Because keep in mind that many languages don't have a written form, or their written form is not alphabetical, such as in Chinese, but they do have sounds. Also, letters are a very imperfect way of showing sounds. One letter can represent several different sounds, or a sound can be represented by several different letters. Therefore, we talk about sounds, not letters. So what makes the sounds of a language? Altogether, the sounds of a language are made up of the suprasegmentals, which is the melody, if you will, of the language, the segments, which are the individual sounds. These are divided into consonants and vowels. The vowels can be monophthongs or diphthongs. The segments are organized into syllables. We'll talk about each of these in turn. When you produce a sound, the air moves up from your lungs and through the glottis or voice box. It's then shaped by the interactions of the voice box, the tongue, the velum, the teeth, and the lips. It's really amazingly complicated and takes quite a bit of coordination. And that's why babies don't talk right after they're born. It takes a while. They have to develop the small muscle control to create all the sounds. The first thing we start with are the suprasegmentals. The suprasegmentals are those things that don't involve the individual sounds themselves, but that are in addition to the sound. For instance, vowel length. So when we talk about vowel length, we don't mean what you learned in grammar school, that a long E is pronounced E and a short E is pronounced IT. None of that means anything in linguistics. We're talking about the actual length, that long vowels are produced several nanoseconds longer than short vowels. We're talking about how much time is actually spent on the particular vowel. Intonation has to do with where you go up and down on a sentence. Not specifically in a word, but where in a sentence. And that tells us where the various boundaries are. In French, for example, it's very important because word boundaries are very weak, so you need intonation to know where the various word groups are. Intonation can also indicate whether a sentence is a question or a statement. You went to the store versus you went to the store. Tone is something that exists on vowels and can actually change the meaning of a word. Many Asian and African languages are tonal. And it's not what your mom means when she says she doesn't like the tone of your voice. It's phonemic, which means essentially that a rising tone or a falling tone, for example, will change the meaning of a word. To say ma or ma can mean two different things. Stress means that you put more emphasis on a particular part of the word. By emphasis, we mean a bit more energy, so maybe pitch or loudness. And these things all float above the segments of the sentence. Consonants are created when there is either a blockage or a constriction of the airflow. The first place where the air passes as it leaves the lungs is the voice box. That's the bump you could feel in the front of your throat. The vocal cords are stretched along the top of the trachea. If the cords are tight, then they vibrate and the sound is voiced. If they are relaxed, they don't vibrate and the sound is unvoiced. Put your hand in front of your throat, pressing lightly. They make the sound zzz. You shouldn't feel any vibration. They make the sound zzz. Feel that vibration? That's what makes sounds voiced or unvoiced. We also describe consonants according to their place of articulation. We'll see more about that in the next slide. But essentially, it means the place where the constriction occurs. The manner of articulation describes how the constriction occurs. When talking about consonants, we don't use the letter. We talk about voicing, place, and manner of articulation. So, for example, we'll talk about the unvoiced alveolar stop. We don't say the letter T. We say the unvoiced alveolar stop. Yes, it's a lot, but it's more precise. This is the English consonant chart. Now, the IPA chart pretty much covers all the sounds of all the languages of the world. We've extracted here just the sounds that are particular to English. There are not multiple IPA charts. We just extract what we need for the sake of clarity. Going across the top, we can see the place of articulation. Again, the place of articulation is where the airflow is constricted. Bilabial sounds constrict the airflow at the lips. Labiodentals involve the upper teeth and lower lip. Interdental sounds are created by placing the tongue between the teeth. The alveolar ridge is that bump that you feel if you run your tongue along the roof of your mouth. It's behind the teeth. Alveolars are sometimes referred to as dentals because they are so close to the teeth. Palatal sounds make the constriction at the hard palate, while velar sounds make the constriction at the soft palate. There are a few glottal sounds in English. These are made by closing the vocal cords and releasing them. Along the side, you can see the manner of articulation. This refers to how the constriction is made. The stops are the most consonantal of consonants, while the glides at the bottom occupy half space between consonant and vowel. The stops, fricatives, and affricates are referred to as obstruents, while the flaps, nasals, laterals, and retroflexes are resonants. Obstruents can be either voiced or voiceless, while resonants are always voiced. That is, they are produced with the vocal cords vibrating. Stops are just that. The airflow is completely blocked and then released in a puff. So p, b, t, d, k, g. Okay? Fricatives are noisy. Think of a garden hose. If you let the water flow from a garden hose, it's quiet. But constrict the opening enough and it will make a noisy sound. The fricatives, f, v, th, the, s, z, sh, j, and h. The affricates start as stops and finish as affricates. So we get ch and j in English. The flap is that quick hit of the tongue between the teeth, like that middle sound in butter. So that's the flap, butter. All of the sounds we've mentioned so far are oral sounds. That means the velum or the soft palate is raised so that air does not resonate in the nasal cavity. To create nasal sounds, the velum is lowered, allowing air to flow into the nasal cavity and to resonate there. To test this, place your finger lightly along the side of your nose. Say s. You shouldn't feel any vibrations. Now say mm. You should feel vibrations then. So the nasal sounds are m, n, and n. Again, these are only in English, or these are sounds in English. The laterals allow the air to flow along the side of the tongue. The only one in English is l. Okay. The retroflex is the sound in English. The tongue is curled up to meet the alveolar ridge. Okay, try it. Okay, feel how your tongue cups. Finally, the glides are also called semivowels. We classify them as consonants because they behave more like consonants than they do like vowels. And those are the w, w, and y sounds. Vowels don't involve any constriction of the airflow, but rather the shaping of the resonating chamber. That's your mouth, basically. Vowels are described using tongue height, that is where the tongue is placed in the mouth. If it's high, like for E, or low, like for A. We also describe vowels by whether the tongue is bunched up towards the front. Again, like for E, or towards the back, like for OO. Rounding the lips also affects the sound. In German and French, for example, there are the front rounded vowels such as U. Finally, vowels can be produced with tense or more relaxed mouth muscles, E, E. You can see that it takes a great deal of coordination of small muscles just to produce a single sound. The other thing that's important, all vowels are voiced. This is the vowel chart for English. So, going across the top, we see the vowel E, which is high front unrounded, U, which is high back unrounded. We get the E, which is mid front, which is a central vowel, and are basically the central vowels. We have which is a back, mid, rounded vowel, and then we have Okay, E and U are the tense vowels because they're produced with a lot of energy. The other I, E, O, A, and A are the lax vowels. Essentially, in English, all back vowels are rounded, while all front rounded vowels are unrounded. Sounds are organized into syllables. Each syllable contains an onset and a rhyme. The rhyme is further divided into the nucleus and the coda. The onset and the coda can be empty, or they can contain consonants. Each language has specific rules about which consonants and how many consonants and in which order they may appear in the onset and the coda. Some languages only allow empty codas. The nucleus can only be filled with a vowel, and it may not be empty. This is in all languages. No vowel, no nucleus, no syllable. You can tell how many syllables are in a word by how many beats it takes to say a word. In English, as well as in some other Slavic languages, the liquids L and R are syllabic. That means that in some cases they behave as vowels and can appear in the nucleus. Think of the word acre, acre. 2 syllables, and no, you're not pronouncing the E in the second syllable. That's a spelling rule of English. If you're not convinced, try to drag out that last syllable without getting to the R until the end. Acre, no, acre. No, you're in the R right away. Syllables can be open or closed. If the coda is filled, that is, there's at least one consonant in it, it's a closed syllable. Open syllables have empty codas, like in this one. The previous slide showed a closed syllable. This shows an open syllable. Keep these ideas in mind, and you'll do fine.